Hello, my fellow skateboarders, longboarders, and freelance skaters. This is Krishnan Srinivasan, a fine art photographer who loves to skate. So, we are going to look about the skateboard trucks and the longboard trucks in this episode. Basically, the trucks and what is the difference between a traditional truck and the other truck. Okay, and that's what we are going to see in this episode. And before we get into this episode, I would like to talk about two things. First thing is, like, if you happen to hear any of the environmental noise, kindly forgive me. I'm recording this around 1:35 p.m. in the afternoon, and we are going to look about these trucks as a 3D model over here. And just because that I don't own any of these trucks, and whatever board that I have is a carver. Carver has a carving truck, and those are definitely different, but they do have the same parts as these trucks, but they are little different in construction and appearance and everything. So I don't want to give the very first impression of what you see as a carving truck. We'll see that in another episode, but right now, for now, we'll look at the skateboard trucks and the longboard trucks as a 3D model, plain 3D model. And second thing is, like, I used to be an visual effects artist a decade before, and I learned them, and I used to work with a software called Maya, and a product of Autodesk. And my area of expertise was Maya Dynamics, which is part of the visual effects, and also a little bit of paint effects, cloth, and everything. So it's been a decade now, and right now I'm in open source 3D software called Blender. And so being such a long gap after everything that I'm doing right now, so if there is any quirkiness or anything going snappy, or I'm doing any slower stuff than using any shortcuts, kindly forgive me. It's because of that, not being in touch with this 3D software quite often, and I have very less purpose of using it. So every now and then for my purpose, because I do video editing and photography these days. So kindly forgive me on that. So without any further ado, let's get into longboard trucks and skateboard trucks. So first thing what I'm going to do is, sorry, I got to restart my machine. There was some glitch with the operating system. The screen recording was not saving properly, so probably it's because of the Blender. It's taking a lot of my graphic memory. So what I'm doing is, like, I'm just erasing the annotation that you saw on the screen. So first, what we're going to look here is the small comparison between the skateboard truck and the longboard truck. So what you see on the right is the skateboard truck. What you see on the left is the longboard truck. So what is the first impression of these two trucks when you look at them in the first place? So let's turn them to our desire. So, or to make it much more clear for you guys, we'll see which falls in the front space. Yeah, here we go. So this is the front side view. I mean, actually, technically, according to the software, it's the right side view. For us, it's the front side. Okay. So what you're looking at onto the left is the longboard truck. What you're looking onto the right is the skateboard truck. So what is the first and foremost differences that you notice is, like, when you're facing your nose of the skateboard or the longboard, if you happen to notice your kingpin nut or any sort of nut in the face of the truck, that is a reverse kingpin truck. So reverse kingpin truck is something which are longer, and it is used in a longboard and in few cruiser boards as well. So, and if you happen to notice no kingpin nut or any sort of nut in the face of the truck, then it's a standard kingpin truck. And most of the standard kingpin trucks are used in a skateboard or a board which is of that size, in few cruiser boards as well. So, and the next visual difference that you notice is the wheels of the longboard truck are very big. So which means the place where you mount those wheels, which are is also going to be of higher width. Okay, and then you notice the wheels of the skateboard truck is smaller. So the place where you're going to mount your wheels is going to be smaller as well. So those are the visual differences in the right and the first impression that you notice when you look at these two trucks side by side. Okay, so on to the right is the skateboard truck, on to the left is the reverse kingpin truck. The skateboard truck is also actually called as standard kingpin trucks. So all the trucks designed for the skateboard and the longboard right now is based on kingpin design. So we'll look at what is kingpin and how it is placed and what else other parts of the trucks in a couple of minutes. So then we'll get back to the perspective view. So where does the kingpin nut go in a skateboard? It goes to the back side of your hanger. So this particular part that you see from the front side is called hanger, and it goes with the same name even for the longboard truck as well. So if the kingpin nut is behind your hanger, that's your traditional standard kingpin truck, and if the kingpin is facing frontwards, then it's a reverse kingpin truck. Okay, those are the visual foremost first impression visual differences that you notice when you compare or place them side by side. Okay, so for now let's learn that, and next, to learn about the parts of the trucks, we'll first start with the skateboard truck. So this is the complete view of the skateboard truck, and this is how it looks after assembling each and every part of the skateboard truck. So what we'll do is we will see them one by one as every individual parts. So I'm sorry, I've activated something. So here goes. Here I have placed every single part of the traditional kingpin truck or the standard kingpin truck apart for you to know and for me to select and tell you what is what. Okay, so first and foremost thing that you need to learn about is the base plate. This is the one which you screw to the deck of your skateboard or the longboard. Okay, so as I said earlier, if you happen to notice any environmental noise, kindly forgive me. So then this is the base plate that you're looking at. This is the one which goes to the board of your deck, either longboard or your skateboard. Right now we are looking at the traditional and the standard kingpin truck. So this is meant for the skateboard. So this is how the base plate looks, and this is the kingpin which is getting screwed into the base plate right here. And what you see here with the rise is the pivot cup. Okay, that's where the pivot goes. The pivot is there in the hanger. So that particular cornering point that you see in the hanger is the pivot. Sorry, I moved it. So that is the pivot, and that goes inside this pivot cup in the base plate. Okay, this is the kingpin, and this goes here. Over the kingpin goes the kingpin nut. Okay, before the every thing in the kingpin nut goes, first thing that goes here is the cup washer for the cylindrical bushing. Then goes the cylindrical bushing itself, and then goes the hanger, then goes the cone bushing, then the cup washer for the cone bushing, then you tighten the entire setup with the kingpin nut. Okay, so what you see here is the cup washer for the cylindrical bushing to hold the cylindrical bushing in place from being moving when you are riding the longboard or the skateboard trucks. It should not crack because of that. So to put them to have them in place and to be safe for riding, we are using these cup washers. So what you find here is the cone bushing. So these are called cone bushing because it goes in the front. It gives, because of this cone shape, it gives the hanger to turn a little bit more for you to take left or right turns. So that gives more flex for the hanger to when you lean on the deck onto the left and or to the right. Okay, these are the parts which goes onto the base plate. Okay, so when we come to the another important part over here, this is called hanger, and over into the hanger what you find is the axle. So the axle in a traditional design, what happens is the axle goes through the entire width of the hanger. So from left to the right, the axle actually goes inside the uh, hanger itself, and there are few portions which comes out of the hanger. That is that in that portion you mount all your wheel assembly. Okay, so the hanger is usually of 6 mm or 8 mm in thickness, and most of the common hanger that you can find is 8 mm thick hanger. Okay, so and it has threads on the end of it. The axle has the threads of the thread on the end of it, and that's where you screw all your wheel assembly. Okay, and mostly the hanger is made out of aluminum, and the axles are made out of steel. Okay, and the base plate is also made out of aluminum, and the cup washers are made out of steel as well. So, and the kingpin is also a steel construction. All the nut or maybe aluminum. Okay, so when we look at the wheel assembly, hope you might remember my another episode where I changed from regular carver wheels to the inline skate wheels. Hope you could recollect that episode. So these are the speed washers that you find, the thin cylindrical element that you find over here, circular element you find over here, or the speed washers, and onto the right is the wheel nut, and here is the wheel itself, and then comes the bearing, the spacer, and the bearing. Okay, so that's the wheel assembly parts. Okay, and it's not in the same order where you assemble them. Actually, they are a little bit misplaced here. I just want to tell you guys what is what over here. So a bearing, it takes 2 bearings per wheel, so 4 wheels, 8 bearings, and 4 spacers. So this is a spacer, this is a cylindrical hollow element. So wait, I'll show you much in a closer look. So this is a spacer, this is a bearing, a spacer, a bearing, a wheel, and here goes the nut which to lock every assembly over here, and these are called speed washers. Okay, so this is how the axle looks like. I took that 3D model out for you to show, like this is how the entire width of the axle looks like. There are few trucks, particularly in longboard trucks, they have the axle in 2 separate parts wherein you can screw them onto the sides of the hanger. It doesn't run through the width of the hanger. Actually, you can screw them to the sides. That's a different design, and each company offers these hangers in different form and a design which suits for their kind of longboard or skateboard they are offering. Okay, so let's just close this and open the assembled view of the truck. So we saw the parts of the skateboard truck or the traditional kingpin truck, and this is how the assembly of the skateboard truck or the long traditional standard kingpin truck looks like. So here is the base plate. Onto the base plate goes the, once again I have to select the right model here. So onto the base plate goes the kingpin. So you could see the kingpin running from the orange selection is running to the end of the base plate. Okay, over the kingpin you've put the cup washer for the cylindrical bushing, then comes the cylindrical bushing itself, and over which goes the hanger, and over which goes this cone bushing, and over which goes the bushing for the cone, a cup washer for the cone, and then goes the kingpin nut. You tighten them everything and it's completely assembled. So it's like wait, once again I think there has to be some view where I can see the curves or something, mesh curve. So what is that? Okay, so it's like switching off something. Okay, I forgot about that. I couldn't show it to you in mesh or something right now. I don't remember for the fact. I mean, like right now. So here is the wheel. When you remove the wheel, you will find that there are a couple of bearings, and there is a spacer here, and the wheel nut locks the wheel in place. Okay, so this is the complete assembly of the traditional kingpin truck, and as you can see, this is how the pivot cup holds the pivot of the hanger, and that's how the kingpin runs through the entire base plate. Okay, and this one important thing you have to notice about every truck is the angle of this base plate. So the angle that you see here, the curvature, or this angle that you see where the kingpin is placed over, that is called the base plate angle. Usually for any skateboard or longboard trucks, it's between 30 degrees to 50 degrees, and for a carving truck it goes even higher, 60 to 80 degrees, like it's something like that. So one of the important aspects that we need to notice on any truck is the base plate angle. Okay, so this is a skateboard truck assembly, and this is how the skateboard truck, any traditional standard kingpin truck, looks like. Okay, after which we'll now look at the longboard truck. Here is the car. Oh yeah, sorry, cancel. I opened a different file. So here is the longboard truck. This is how the longboard truck looks like after the complete assembly. So as I told before, we'll first look at the parts of the longboard truck. It's very similar to what you saw in the traditional standard kingpin design of a skateboard truck. So you have a base plate, you have a kingpin. This is a kingpin design, so every longboard truck is going to have that. So you have a base plate, you have a kingpin, okay, and a kingpin nut, okay, over which goes the cup washer. Wait, let me show you. A cup washer and a cylindrical bushing, and the hanger itself, and over the hanger goes the cone bushing and the cup washer for the cone bushing. And after which you tighten the entire assembly with the kingpin nut that you see here. Okay, so that's one thing. And the wheel assembly also has the same thing. You have the wheel nut to lock the entire assembly, a speed washer, a bearing, spacer, a bearing, a speed washer, and the wheel itself. So bearing, spacer, and speed washer goes inside the wheel. It's the same case for the skateboard truck as well, wheel assembly as well. So one of the speed washers goes to the end of this hanger, and that's where the usual wheel assembly is there, right? So then these three elements goes into the wheel, and the wheel goes there, and then goes the speed washer, then comes the nut which locks the wheel in the hanger. So this is how the reverse kingpin truck's hanger looks like. So give me a second, let me zoom out a little bit to move this. So this is how the reverse kingpin hanger looks like, and this is the pivot of the reverse kingpin hanger, and the pivot goes in the base plate here. So hope you can see the base plate pivot cup. This is the pivot cup. That's where the pivot of the hanger goes in. So that design goes inside this base plate. Okay, so this is the hanger of the longboard truck, and what is there in this hanger is the left hand side. You see the axle as usual. It runs through the entire width of the hanger, and there are a few designs wherein you can screw the axle to the left and right side of the hanger. Okay, and onto the center is the portion where it holds the bushings in place. Okay, and this is the pivot. So now that we have seen the parts of every longboard truck, we are going to look at the entire assembly of the truck and see what we have to learn from here. So as usual, as I mentioned before, this is the longboard wheel assembly. You have the wheel. Inside the wheel you have a couple of bearings and a spacer, and then onto the right goes the speed washer, onto the left goes a speed washer, then the wheel nut locks the wheels in place. Okay, that's one thing. And here is the base plate. Here is the base plate. So what we are going to do is, give me a second, I'm going to put my phone on silent. So I did. So this is the base plate. Over the base plate lies the kingpin. So the orange selection that you see is the kingpin mounted onto the base plate. So, and wait, I have to move a little bit and turn and show to you guys what is there. So, base plate, kingpin. Hold on a second. I have to turn a little bit to select the kingpin here. Yeah, that's the kingpin which runs through the base plate. Over the kingpin, we assemble the cup washer for the cylindrical bushing. Then comes the cylindrical bushing, over which we assemble the reverse kingpin hanger, the hanger, and over which you put the cone bushing, and you put the cup washer for the cone bushing. Then you tighten them with the kingpin nut. The kingpin nut is usually bigger than the nut which locks the wheels in place. Okay, so the nut that you see here, it's the kingpin nut is bigger than this wheel nut. So that's how the T tool of the skate tool goes. One for the wheel, one for the kingpin nut, and one for the hardware that you use to mount the trucks to the deck. Okay, so these are the assembled parts of any reverse kingpin truck. We are calling it a reverse kingpin truck because the pivot side has the visible kingpin nut here. Okay, so another important thing as usual that we need to notice over here is the angle of the base plate. So what we are looking here is the angle of the base plate. Normally every angle of the base plate for a general a longboard truck, which is a reverse kingpin truck, lies between 45 to 50 degrees. So what does a 45 to 50 degree inclination or the angle of the base plate helps is, like, it helps you to carve the hanger, this part of the hanger that you see here, this hanger, to turn left and right. It gives more tighter turns possibility. You can carve more. When you lean on the board and try to turn your board, it will turn faster and in a very shorter radius. That's what the angle 45 degrees of the base plate helps you with. And if you in a downhill board or any sort of a longboard wherein you try to travel in a very fast pace, like 110 to 120 kilometer per hour. Yes, the longboard do travel that much faster. So in a longboard wherein you will try to ride faster, like 100 to 120 kilometer per hour, those base plates or the trucks for that particular longboard have an angle of 35 degrees actually. So lower the angle, it takes a lot of dampening, and higher the angle, it gives more carving and turning abilities. Okay, so any generic reverse kingpin truck are designed for 45 to 50 degree angle. Downhill board is designed for 35 degree lower angle. Okay, and these reverse kingpin trucks are like middle size trucks. Okay, so middle size trucks, there is the skateboard or the traditional standard kingpin truck or the lower trucks of this, they give a very lower clearance to the ground when you're mounted to the deck, even with the wheels. And these are mid-size actually, so these kind of give a little bit more clearance to the ground when you mount them on the longboard deck. And they are higher trucks, which are the carving trucks, the carver that you see, which I am using. They are usually higher, and it gives a lot of carving ability to turn left and right and give some tight turns and everything. So these are medium size, like in the medium height. Okay, a little taller than the skateboard and longboard truck. That is one of the visual difference that we will notice over here. So those are the parts, and that's how the base plate angle and everything works for the longboard or a reverse kingpin truck in a longboard. Okay, and for you to understand the idea of 0 to 90 degree thing, wherein 45 to 50 degrees gives more carving ability, and the lower the angle gives a lot of strength, stability and dampening ability for your trucks. To explain that aspect, I have a simple image here, and this is again a free image. I don't own any rights for this vector graphics. It was obtained free and it had the free license, so I'm using it again. So this is not designed by me, except for the boxes that you see, ugly boxes that you see. So I don't have a vector software as well. So what you see is a small example that I can provide you. So imagine this man to be the hanger in the truck. So hanger is something that where you mount your wheels, hanger and the axle. Okay, hanger contains the axle wherein you mount your wheels. Okay, imagine this man to be the hanger of the truck. So when the man tries to push a box of a decent weight, look at the angle of the person, which is like around 40 to 50 degrees. So when the man is trying to push a heavier box, look at the angle of the person, which is like 30 to 40 degrees. So the angle of the person differs according to the weight of the box. So considering the person to be the hanger and the box that is shown here to be the obstacles that come in the way of your longboard truck when you're riding them. So when your truck has to take more dampening, when it has to dampen more and be stable, more straight and everything. So you need a lower angle. So when you need when you have to carve or do some commute and do some dancing and do the S kind of surf action and everything, you need an angle between 45 to 50 degrees and even more in case of a carving truck, which is like this kind of lighter box wherein the person stands straight. So that's the simple explanation I could give about the hangers. That's how the higher and lower angle are justified over here. You need lower angle to give more force or take more dampening, and you need a little bit medium angle like 45 to 50 degrees to carve your board and everything. So that's the assembly. And one of the other advantages of this reverse kingpin trucks is like few companies design this hanger wherein like when you put this in one way, it's going to stay at 45 to 50 degrees, and when you flip this hanger, like when you're going to turn this hanger like in a different direction like this, and you assemble it over this I'm sorry, that's a very bad assembly. So when you assemble it over the base plate, when you flip the hangers, it will turn to 35 degrees. So you can have best of both worlds. So when you flip the hanger, it will give you lower angle to 35 degrees. Then you can take your boat for doing tighten your trucks very strongly and take your boat for doing some downhills and high speed riding. And you flip your hanger again, and it will turn your truck to 45 to 50 degrees, wherein you can use it for commute, dancing, and like do the surf skate stuff and other things. So few companies do design the hanger that way. So that's how you can adjust the base plate angle as well. Hope you can remember and recall that I had razor pads in my carving in my carver longboard. Though the cushioning that comes between the longboard and the base plate, if you adjust the riser pads, it will adjust the angle of this base plate as well. What you see is, though, if you adjust the cushioning that goes between the longboard and the truck, it will also adjust the the base plate angle. Okay, so that's one thing. And I forgot about one thing. Wait, I'll show you the complete assembly of the longboard here. So this is how the complete assembly of the longboard looks like, and this is a concave longboard, which is a symmetrical longboard. So longboard deck, wherein you can see the front side. So the pivot is facing the nose here, and when you turn the board, you can see the pivot is facing the tail. So these are reverse kingpin trucks. As you can notice the kingpin nut on the face of the truck. Okay, so it gives you ability to turn, carve, and everything. So this is a a kind of a generic longboard reverse kingpin truck, wherein it is at 45 to 50 degree angle. So that's what I think. I guess I have covered everything that I need to talk to you guys right now. So let me just open the comparison thing once again, if to look around, like if I had missed out on something. So traditional kingpin truck, the bushings, I've talked about the bushings. Yeah, I think yes. So the idea of using the bushings in between this hanger and the kingpin and the base plate is that, so these bushings act like the suspensions, and it kind of helps you to turn the hanger, and most importantly to return the position of the hanger to the center of gravity that it is. So when you are leaning left or right, the hanger turns with the help of the cushions that is there in the bushing. So when it turns, and when you release, or when you lean straight, or when you just release the deck from leaning, those bushings, the cushion and the bushings, it reverts back the hanger to the original position, wherein it restores the center of gravity as well. That's the reason we are using the bushings here instead of any kind of suspension springs or any sort of other suspension mechanism. So that is the only point which I kind of missed out earlier now. So hope you saw the entire look of the complete skateboard here. So that's how a longboard look after the complete assembly. That's where the hardware goes, and this is how the rear and front looks like. And most of the reverse kingpin trucks, the rear and front looks the same. Okay, so hope I covered everything, the differences and the comparison and the parts, and everything about the traditional standard kingpin truck and the reverse kingpin truck. And there is one more thing with the longboard trucks particularly. There are something called double kingpin trucks. Okay, give it a second, let it open over here. So I'm opening via Google Images because I don't own any of these things. So this, what you see here, what you're looking here, is the double kingpin truck. Okay, so that's the double kingpin truck. You have a base plate, you have a kingpin over here from the base plate, then you have a middle plate, you have a kingpin from the middle plate, and then you assemble the hanger and the wheels over there. So this is a double kingpin truck. This is a carving truck. We'll look at this in detail later in another episode when we are talking about the carving trucks. Okay, my quick time is my quick time is like has stopped the recording. Let me save my video recording for a second here. That I'm going to name it as short 2. Let's give it a second. You may not be looking at me right now because the last time when I did this recording, I did not record this movie. I just had the movie recording window over the top as a floating window over every other thing that I had on my screen. What happened is like the graphic memory kind of occupied because of the blender, and there was some audio lag wherein my video and my lip sync is not happening properly. So I'm doing this video again, technically speaking. So my screen recording is still continuing. So what I'm going to do is for you guys to look at the ending that I'm going to do. So guys, so hope you guys understood what I was talking about in this episode. We saw the comparison and the differences between longboard reverse kingpin trucks and the traditional standard kingpin truck which we use in the skateboard, and the parts of everything and the wheel assembly parts as well. So this is a 3D model. We will look at the actual ones when I have them in my hand, if in the future, near future, if possible. Otherwise, I will show you everything with my carving truck itself. Okay, so hope it was hope it was useful, and if I missed out on anything, please do mention in the comments. And I'm very new to this. If I had made any mistakes, please do mention them in the comments as well, so that will be a learning for me. So hope it's good for both of us. Peace out. Kicha signing off. Thank you.